I got out there and I saw the world. I saw what other people were doing. I met people from all walks of life. And I realized that my parents had put a ton of time and energy, and my grandparents, into building an awesome business.
Welcome to Shaping the Basin. I am here today with Austin Leseur. Austin is the owner of Midland Empire Insurance and the 2025 Chamber President. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I have all kinds of things that I want to ask you. But one of the ones I think what I'm going to start with is Midland Empire Insurance was owned by your dad. Did
Correct.
he start it? And then
my grandfather
your
started
grandfather started it, and then your dad, and now you, and I believe your brother owns the one in Grants Pass. Is that how this works?
That's mostly correct. Midland Empire was actually started by a gentleman named Bill McKibben, who my grandfather bought out in the 50s. My grandfather owned it till the 80s when he sold it to my parents. And then my brother Lawton and I bought the business from our parents in 2020. It is one business with two locations, but that is mostly correct.
So did you, when you were growing up, did you know you wanted to own it at some point in time?
No, I did not. I think it's a common theme among Klamath kids that it's kind of, how am I going to get out of here? What am I going to do next? My dad always made it apparent that we had the opportunity to buy it as long as his requirements were met, which he had a list of. But I left town when I turned 18, and not until I was 23, 24 did I realize how cool of an opportunity it would be to come home and work in the family business. And that's when I started working towards coming back.
Mm-hmm. So you, like a lot of kids, wanted to get out of here,
right?
I'm guessing. What was the deciding factor for you to start thinking, maybe I want to go back to Klamath?
I think getting out of here was a big deciding factor in making me want to come back. So I got out there and I saw the world. I saw what other people were doing. I met people from all walks of life. And I realized that my parents had put a ton of time and energy, and my grandparents, into building an awesome business. And to have the opportunity even to be able to own that and run that was pretty cool. It's not an opportunity that a lot of people get. They were able to give us a good life growing up. Got to play sports, got to see a lot of the country, etc. So that was when I decided I need to give this thing a chance. I need to go back and see what I can do with it.
So did you come back for, and maybe it's a little bit of both, but did you come back for Klamath or come back for that opportunity, or were they just so closely connected?
To be totally frank, I came back for the opportunity in my family. I did not think much of Klamath in my decision and in coming back. Came back for the opportunity, and I came back to be closer to my family. That said, I changed a lot in the time that I was gone, and coming back to Klamath was almost like coming back to an entirely new place. And there's so much awesome stuff in this area that I did not take advantage of in high school that now I think is amazing and really cool.
I hear that a lot, actually. That a lot of people that grew up here maybe didn't explore the community in the same way when they were kids, and then they come back. What were some of the, what have been some surprising things that you've recognized as an adult that you didn't see as a kid?
How great the outdoor recreation is here. The ability to be able to drive not too far and have an entire river or a large chunk of the forest or a lake almost all to yourself or to yourself. It's pretty amazing. A lot of the hot spots in the country for recreation, you don't get that. You're jumping fishing holes in the river or getting out of the way on the trail all the time. Or if you're hunting, you're running into people. Here we have a lot of space. Even though this community loves to get outside, there's just a lot of area to go explore.
Mm-hmm. So taking it back to business for a minute, insurance.
Sure.
I think probably there's a lot of people that are like insurance, but talk to me about what it's like to own an insurance agency and what you love about it.
Okay. Definitely insurance. That was my answer when I was a little kid, right? Insurance. Owning an insurance agency has been eye-opening. To use a cliche, it's been drinking through a fire hose. I had no idea what my parents did when I was growing up. Obviously, there is the customer-facing side where you're working with people to help them find insurance for themselves or their business, and you're working on certain issues. But in working with the team that works for us, and then on all the business owner side, whether it's compliance with the state or the federal government, planning on how we're going to protect the business moving forward, what makes the best sense to ensure a future for Midland Empire. That's the part that's really enjoyable. And it's been very eye-opening. There's a lot there.
That's great. Your family has been at it since the 50s, which is a really long time to be in business, actually. What are some of the lessons you learned from maybe that were passed on from your grandparents to your dad to you?
It's a great question. One that comes to mind from my dad is what you cast out upon the sea, you're going to get back, right? So how you treat people in your community, how you act, etc. That's what you're going to get back from everyone. Being a young business owner, I think that's a good thing to keep in mind because a lot of the times, get frustrated if something doesn't go your way or you can't help everybody. But that's why there's other options. That's why you learned from these lessons. So I think that's a big one.
That's a good one. What I think your family, I met your dad first when I started at the chamber, but your family seems to have a legacy of giving back to the community. Your dad was involved in a lot of things, and sometimes we talk about the younger generation maybe not volunteering as much or getting involved, but you're pretty involved. Talk to me about that.
I try to be pretty involved. My grandfather was very involved. My dad is involved, and even though he's retired, and he's still very active in like the Shriners Children's Hospital and working and all of that. My brother's involved over in Grants Pass. He's the vice president of the Boys and Girls Club. He was chamber president. He was on Rotary, etc. I am the chamber president now. Been on the board for 5 years. I am in Rotary, which I'm on some committees there. And then I'm involved in other organizations throughout town, which I guess goes back to your question about lessons in owning a business. The goal is not to sit there behind my desk, right, or to just focus on the side of the business. That's insurance and work related. A big part of it is get out in the community, meet these other awesome people in town that are doing great things, and make that connection. Hopefully one day you'll get to work together. But otherwise, you can help their nonprofit or you can help their cause. And when I need help for a chamber cause or a Rotary cause or whatever other organization I'm a part of, they're more apt to help me too, because they understand who you are and understand what you're trying to accomplish to help the town.
Yeah, I love that. We recently, as you know, we do our board meetings sometimes in different locations, but we did it at a recent one at the Leatherneck Club. Did I get the name of that right? The Marine Corps League?
So it is the Marine Corps League and it is the Leatherneck Club. Both are correct.
Okay.
One refers to the organization and one refers to the bar restaurant side of it.
Okay. You said something about your family's history of service, military service. Tell me about that a little bit.
Okay. So the joke is that in our family, you're born, you go to high school, you go in the Marine Corps, you work in insurance, and then you die, which is obviously a joke. There's so many other great things that happen among that over that course of time. But my grandpa, my dad, my brother, and I were all in the Marine Corps as well. If you've been in Klamath County, most people are hopefully aware that up Old Fort Road, where the old OTI campus was before it was OTI, it was the Marine Corps barracks from, I think, 1944 to 1946, where during World War II, they were sending wounded Marines from Guadalcanal, South Pacific, to recover because they had been bit by mosquitoes and they had tropical diseases, which in our climate and at our elevation went dormant. My grandpa was one of those Marines who was bit by a mosquito on Guadalcanal, and he fell in love with Klamath Falls. Also, it was healthy for him because he still had the virus in him, and decided to stay. So we have a deep connection to Klamath Falls and the Marine Corps history here, as well as, the business community and all that.
Mhm. What are some of the things you learned in the Marine Corps that you use in business?
Mm-hmm. That's I've been thinking about that quite a bit more as I figure out my leadership style in business. One thing is that the Marine Corps leadership is very different from how you interact with professionals. I'm working every day with professionals on my team. The Marine Corps is just, it's so direct. You're doing this because it's the Marine Corps' rules. There's no deviation from it. There is no why. I outrank you, point blank, period. No conversation. A lot of the time. There's times, of course, where you have the conversation. But the Marine Corps taught a lot of good leadership traits, always leading by example, never asking your people to do something that you wouldn't do yourself, how to use your judgment, how to communicate and follow up. All of those were taught to us in the Marine Corps. And I do try to fall back on them as I work with my team now.
I'm guessing with your grandpa and your dad, and then now you having the business, have you thought about what legacy at Midland you would like to leave, or some of the awesome things you would like to accomplish and leave your mark on it?
My brother and I do talk about how we would like to grow the business and then also the perpetuation of it. I'm at a point right now where I don't have any kids, but we would like to keep the business in the family. My brother has 3 kids right now. So we'll see where life takes them. I think the goal would be to encourage them to be able to come into the business. I think that would be really cool to continue it for a 4th generation. As far as the legacy for Midland Empire goes, though, if that doesn't happen for whatever reason, I'd like it to be remembered as like a cornerstone for the community. I mean, our office is in a great spot on 6th and Main. We try and be present at community events and give back to different organizations. I'd like to be remembered that way. I don't think it needs to be anything grandiose, but something where we're a helpful part of this community.
If a picture says 1,000 words, imagine the story. 24 frames a second can tell about your business. 40 Deuce Films.
In our community, especially I think because of the agriculture industry, there are a lot of families that tend to take on businesses and go through that. But I think being in business with family probably comes with some of its own challenges and opportunities. What is it like to be in business, and what are some of the lessons you've learned there?
Is your question, what is it like to be in business with your family?
Yeah, basically.
I feel very fortunate that my brother is 2 hours away. I love that guy to death. But we need to be able to work separately in our day to day and to have our own space. And I think that's been very beneficial for us. As far as working with my parents, they're all retired now. They're around once in a while. I feel like I won't see them for a month, and then I see them for a month straight. But when I was getting started and it was more me learning and I still needed more of the help on a day-to-day basis, it was a very interesting dynamic where the tension would often grow because I own it, but you're the one with 40 years of experience who owned it for 30 some years. There were times where we would shout and all of that, but I think having the foundation of we're both trying to accomplish the same thing. We both want to help the customers or help our team or whatever the case may be. That it was fine that we could shout at each other and then go have dinner together or go grab a beer together when it was done. Really, really rewarding too, to be able to work with both of my parents, because like as a little kid, you don't understand what it is that they're doing. You think they're insurance right? You think they're whatever commercial you're seeing on TV, and that's not the case at all. They're doing something very different. So it also really, deepened my respect for them and my admiration for them and what they had done.
I like that. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk. I think it's appropriate to talk a little bit about the chamber, which I don't normally do. But since you are the president,
I am. Let's do
this year, what made you want to join the board 5 years ago?
Exposure, just getting involved in the community, getting on a board, an opportunity to meet new people, new leaders in the community, which it's definitely provided. I remember my first chamber meeting. I think Katie Baker and Brian Phillips came on at the same time that I did. Shout out Katie, Blonde Pineapple, Brian at Aflac. I think we all came on together, and I remember sitting there and I'm like, what is this? Like, what's happening? Like, I have no idea. And the president at the time was Rich Schuster from Kingsley Field, who's a former Marine, now in the Air Force, very well-spoken, like sturdy individual. And I'm just sitting there like, this guy's awesome. But over the last 5 years that I've been on the board, to see all the different presidents and all their different leadership styles, and they're all effective. Yeah, I mean, I got started for exposure, but I've learned a ton through all of those people.
Yeah. What do you remember how you even came to? I guess my question is, sometimes people are out there and they're like, I don't know how to get involved. So do you know how you even ended up getting asked on the board?
Absolutely. I think I do. I think I know, because it still happens. Show up and talk to people. So the chamber I started going to are Awake at 8s. And for the first couple years that I was in business, I was at every single one that I could go to. I'm much more tardy now as I've gotten more involved in Rotary and the chamber leadership. Or tardy isn't the right word, absent. I'm much more absent now from the Awake at 8s. But get involved. Like, I was at them all the time, and through working with you, I think that's how it eventually was. Oh, this person is invested in the community. Let's ask them to be on the board. I'm part of other organizations in town. Like last night, I was at the fly fishing club in town, the Klamath Country Flycasters, and they're looking for board members. And because I'm there, they're trying to get me to be on the board. And I'm doing my best to resist them because I'm on so many others. But it's the same thing with Rotary. It's the same thing, I'm sure with home builders. Come to these events and you're going to meet people that realize you have good stuff to offer and will help you get involved on these various boards.
Was the chamber board the first board you served on?
Yes.
Okay. What have you learned about board service?
Something, I'm sure. One thing that I've learned about board service is it's awesome to see what you're working on and planning on in the board meetings come together. We work largely through you as the director, but you bring these ideas and we give you back what we can. And it's very rewarding to see them manifest, like in the shape of the gala or in the shape of some of these new items we have coming up, in the shape of a podcast. Right? It was an idea in our planning strategy 2 years ago, I think.
Yep.
And now it's rocking and rolling. So that's one thing that I've learned. Another thing that I've learned is, and I don't mean this in a negative way, all my ideas aren't generally the best. When I run my business and my day-to-day, it's me and my ideas, and I will bounce those ideas off my brother as needed. But when you get 10 to 15 people who are very motivated for the same cause in a room together, you're going to get some good ideas. And some of the stuff that these people come up with, I'm like, that's awesome. I wish I would have thought about that. So that's was another eye opener. Probably shouldn't have been an eye opener, but it was an eye opener, and just seeing what people do come up with.
I love that. Sometimes it's not that it was a bad idea, but then when other people put input, it becomes an even better idea. Sometimes that's what I think of too.
Right. Yeah. It snowballs and just gets better and better.
So this year as the president, what did you want to focus on?
We had a couple of internal board things that we focused on that I won't bore everybody with, but outward facing, I think our big one not I think, I know our big one was the image of Klamath Falls. Unjustly, Klamath gets a lot of flack if you're in other towns around the state, and it really drives me up a wall. So I'm over in Medford and I'm with a group of friends, and you get to talking and you say, I'm from Klamath Falls, and they go, oh, Klamath Falls. And I'm probably more hostile than most on it, because I'll call them out now and I'll say, what's wrong with it? Have you ever been? There's a lot of great stuff there. Tell me what's so good about Medford, which it's probably not appropriate for just the normal person trying to have a conversation. But just in changing and bringing the positive light to it, because there is so much cool stuff happening here, cool people doing cool businesses, awesome things to do out in nature. Like there's a lot of opportunity here. So the main focus was, or one of the main focuses is, how are we going to help improve the image? The podcast is part of that, as well as other things happening on social media in the background.
We do talk about that a lot, and I've noticed that when we go to other parts of the state, but it frustrates me even more that we have people in the community that sometimes are
Agreed.
like that,
Right.
where they're like, listen, I tell people all the time, if you can't find anything good in Klamath, you're hanging out with the wrong people and you're not going to the right places, because we know what the issues are. We have some things to work on, but there's so much good stuff here.
Right.
So
The grass grows where you water it.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to accomplish before the end of the year as president?
Mm-hmm. I'd like to start some sort of a more intentional campaign to lift the image of Klamath, or maybe to get the word of that out better. I think the rest of it is all boring board stuff, internal, but outwardly that would be what I want to accomplish facing the community.
But I think that internal stuff is important.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the chamber, we've had a strong board. I mean, the chamber's been around since 1905, and I actually have access to some of the early minutes back even in the 20s, which are kind of fun. But we've always had a strong board, but sometimes there's just little things that you need to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
I feel safe saying this, like attendance. That's probably one of the things I think about when I'm advising people about the board. Like, decide if you're going to make the meetings. That's like probably the number one thing. You got to show up, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, attendance is a big one that we are working on. And I think I said that to everybody at our first board meeting this year. Yeah, my first time up there leading it. And then I followed it immediately with, oh, in February, I'm out of town for our board meeting, though. So can we move that one? Hi, I'm your new president and I'm a hypocrite. But people are accommodating with it. And, we've moved other ones. One thing we're doing right now with the board meetings that I think we were talking about before we were recording is the next one's going to be up in the Chiloquin area. Ellsworth is helping us put on a board meeting up there. The last one we did at the Marine Corps League. We have ideas to do other ones in different spots. And they seem to be better attended, right? Stop just having them in the chamber conference room, as great as it is. Is it the toilet every time someone flushes it? You can hear it in there.
It is.
So
oh my gosh.
Let's have them outside. Let's have them in different spots and encourage people to come that way. All right. It's a little proactive tweak to improve our attendance.
Yeah. I think some of that board development is an important aspect of it. Sometimes we get in a rut of kind of doing the same thing. And you and I did some fun changes this year to where it's not just a board meeting where you're sitting and just doing updates, where you're actually working on some programs. And back to your being more intentional about a campaign. Hopefully we'll be able to announce some fun ideas after our trip to Chiloquin. Right?
I hope so.
Hopefully. Maybe we'll have to have you back on the podcast at some point to talk about those
Okay.
things.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. I have 3 fun hot seat questions, if you will.
I'm ready.
If I gave you $250,000 to do something by the end of the day to make a difference in the community, what would you do with it?
So before I answer these 3 questions, I've listened to all of your podcasts and I've heard everyone's answers. And I still don't know that and I knew I was going to be on here, and I still don't know that I have, final answers for all of them. But with the $250,000, what I think I would do is try and invest in something in town related to basketball. Basketball is a big part of my youth and growing up here. I still play in the men's league at Steen, and I still play pickup ball. But I think if there was a way to build some sort of facility in town or renovate some sort of building and put a basketball court in there for like the kids, for the youth to get away and to play pickup ball, like it's a good outlet. It's something that still helps me. Like if I've had a long week and I get to play pickup ball, whatever day, like that's great. So something basketball related, give back to the community and the kids that way.
Nice. Now I feel like I have to come up with new questions for you since you already know. Thank you for watching every episode. But what is one thing you can't start your morning without?
Stretching. Yeah, I'm a stretchaholic. It goes back to basketball. I had an issue in high school where I was growing so fast that I could barely run, and I started stretching. And ever since then, I have to stretch. Mm-hmm. So I stretch every morning.
I know what I'm going to ask you because you love Klamath and you've talked so much about everything there is to. If you could plan the perfect day in Klamath for somebody, like let's say somebody from Medford was like, okay, Austin, show me. And they came over here. How would you plan the day? Where would you take them?
That's so classified though. That's the other problem, right? Is in Klamath, we all keep it close to the vest. So I'd make them pick their, grab the Bible or whatever book they choose and swear on it that they would never show anyone my secret spots. And then I'd take them around. I mean, it's like asking your husband where the good fishing holes are, right?
He'd tell you the ocean.
Yeah, the ocean. Thanks. That's what I'd tell people in Klamath too. Is there any good fishing there? Well, I hear Ben's really nice.
Gosh. That's funny.
There's no fishing here.
Oh my gosh. The first day I was at the chamber that this is a side note, but there was someone working in the visitor center, not with the chamber, but with a different organization. And somebody came in and was like, hey, we're here for a couple of days. What should we do? And I heard the person say, you should go do the jet boats over there. And I was like, no.
No, there's so much good stuff in Klamath. Like all of the rivers are great for fishing, or if you're just into scenery or kayaking, be careful if you're going to kayak the Klamath, right? But if you want to do the wood, there's so much beautiful river opportunity. I've always been really drawn to rivers. So that would probably be my perfect day is let's go spend a day on the Wood or the Williamson or the banks of the Klamath. And, do you want to find mushrooms? Do you want to catch fish? Do you want to look at birds? All those are opportunity on every single one of those places. And they all have a decent amount of public access where you can see them. That's where I would take someone. That's my perfect day.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you for your time today. Thanks for your service to the chamber. And I look forward to working with you.
Sounds good. Yep. Shout out to the rest of the board.
Yes. And thank you to 40 Deuce Films for putting these episodes together for us.
Thank you.